Welcome to a late IHP Show with your very own 5D mystic to chit-chat about, well, spiritual influence and ethics, but also 4D insecure, unaccountable people, because whether they're mystics, spiritual, or mindful of 4D or not, and 3D, what really is very clear is the fact that they don't care, that they don't tend to their inner child. And then when you tell them the truth, which is that trauma charges don't get metabolized by people who don't have bilateral vertical overall integration, well, they like to blame Lucifer and demons and monsters and spiritual people who are mentors, content creators, podcast hosts, and all the good feels individuals who are in the enlightenment, soul age group, and stuff like that. I would say there's a bunch of not healed therapists out there too. So when you meet the bad ones, the ones who have no ethics, they're usually supported by Diego's family from Ice Age, because adaptive child part people support each other to have bad manners, meaning they're modulated embodiment. So being angry with a self-righteous energy that could be healed. So they project their trauma charges. And actually, the fourth step to healing trauma charges, studies have found that people like to take the bystanders, like strangers, and together go punish the other group. And they get it's disgusting to a person who navigates the body in connection. Let me spell it out. So when you're sovereign, that means that you're self-led, so you know what it means to be petty, because I've done it when I was a kid, little petty sword fights with words. So when someone says, well, ethics, it's moral principles, how dare you, mystic, polyamory woman, person with a tank top, who knows, so they will use the word moral, and then they'll bring scarlet letter times and a bunch of more ignorance, or they will like get in your face and be like, how dare you, like there's two extremes of teenagers, they're both equally petty. The ones who sit in the middle are called equanimous, and they know why it's leadership-like to have equanimity, because common-centered people talk very good, because they actually, not only for the spiritual enlightened ones, we know spiritual masters, gurus, yogis, experts of everything, you don't need me to enlighten yourself. 4D, they like to think they're needed and that they will save humanity, which tells you they disrespect every single person's free will, number one. They disrespect masculines who are not empowered and feminines who are not empowered. We, on the other hand, I make fun of them. And then they're the ones who want to go around splitting the word ethics into black and white. And I think there's no monsters. There's therapists who can heal everybody's brain. And so there is a solution if people want to get actually connected to their higher self. And then for the mystic community, know how to be a pure channel with their honoring of themselves. So wellness is not a positive vibes only industry. It's a eventual vibes, because that's why it's always on. And when someone says you can't always be on, meaning like, you're not always on, are you? You think of Debdana, yes, she trains her therapist to do it. I just didn't need training because I'm a self-led, securely attached self-agent. Since I've been 3, I was differentiated. I said to my mom, you can't spank me, it is on my body. And I also corrected the biological father who called me the wrong name, but I waited with him 3 times. Even though I don't like gender stereotypes, which I really don't, because if I were a man, I'd be all over getting every single one of them out. Like I'd be like, okay, here's my purpose in this lifetime, to make sure every single stereotype about men, this is how Maria would do it, will be out into cross it out, and then I'm going to make a group of men like it, because otherwise it sounds like men are dogs, like animals. But animals are better, because that's how it felt when I watched some idiot with a bunch of idiot people laughing together of these stereotypes, which I get it, the brain might be made slightly differently, but really the capacity to compare this man, compared all men to basically having boxes that can't touch each other, and then they want to talk about us being chaotic. I'll show you chaos. Because really, no, I won't. If I'm actually an empowered woman, I won't do chaos. I'll just do my best to, when I get told that it's too much, I guess you're too little, because that's how it would work. Because if you're not getting in somebody's face and insulting them, but you're asking questions, and it doesn't matter how they come across, if you're an empowered anyone, you know how to be the calm one in the equation. So we take turns. We can't all be emotional, but one of the two is going to be grounded in reality and say, okay, let me diffuse the situation, because that's what grown-ups, or excuse me, that's what ethical, spiritual influencing human beings and mentally influencing human beings. So 4D insecure, unaccountable people, whether they're spiritual bypassers or spiritual bypassers, mystics are included in the book, that still believe in Lucifer and demons because they don't know how to get their body to a therapist so they can get their embodied brain calibrated, and then they can move beyond limiting beliefs, because symbols, stories, they don't get disproven, but they do get put in a library. Akash has a bunch of libraries. I've seen a bunch of my past lives. In fact, I'm very happy it's the year 2025. We do not go back in history, luckily. So all of the enlightened ones know how the cycle works, which is why we all, the ones who are actually not chosen, we just awaken to reality, grounded in reality, 5D, true spiritual ones know what it is to be ethical. You take care of your mental health, then once you are a whole brain, because you're integrated, you're going to do really great with the wellness, mindful mindset meditation, and all of the Buddhism thing of ventral vagal toning and the, again, mindfulness meditation, because you will be able to know when stuff comes up. It's not demons. It's called trauma charges. And as Peter Levine points out, when one unravels, the rest comes up. And sensations and images are the first things that come up. He actually got fired by one of his patients. And he's like, you can't be healing me. You're not God. You're a demon. And she actually labeled him a demon, devil. And the people who are supposed to actually say, hey, excuse me, God created Peter Levine. He's brilliant. He's helping you heal. Don't you know what neuroscience proves? That which Jesus told all of us, that the kingdom of God is within you. The ones who want to bring in conspiracies with all of the institutions, let it go. My master's degree, international relations and diplomacy. I know what true leadership mentally is, and emotionally, excuse me, they have to have both. Forgot to mention it. You don't become a leader if you don't own yourself. So when you see 4D in town and 3D, they don't like any of 5D. But because they have not the capacity to lead with their grown-up version, we get to meet the emotionally immature version. So they make up stories of energy vampires, dark auras, and all that. No, they just keep the ancient stories. They continue to feel people's energy, draining them, not draining them, because they don't learn to navigate their ventral energy in equanimity. In fact, they say, we're not here to be light and love, we're here to be light and lightning. And then the people who think they can replace a bunch of therapists, they make up bullshit words like lack of imagination for evil. That's not a spiritual influencer. That's actually a human being who actually is seen by a bunch of men as if it were a good example. And while I'm sure there's golden nuggets in every single human being, a good man, like a good woman will say, okay, we don't have viral videos leading the way, because we all know what the masses are. That's unfortunate, but I pick the man, not the bear. So anytime I hear yelling, I just think, oh, look, a bunch of teenagers who are backstabbers, liars, cowards, and they just think they're like in the revolution of the French times. They don't know what year it is yet. But then again, we all matter. So thanks to every single one of the 8 billion people, and we have enlightenment soul age group, spirituality soul age group, relationship soul age group. So some people choose to stop growing, and then they stagnate in that which is a low frequency, and then they live that lifetime in that energy. So it's not a bad thing. Oh, they'll manifest riches. Meantime, God always wins. Cosmic karmic balancing always takes place. The ethics of spiritual influence. Ethics, study of moral principles, right and wrong, good and bad behavior. And, oh, yes, value and moral duty, seeking to establish standards for judging human actions and making choices that contribute to the common good. When you meet adaptive child part people, they don't have common good in mind. They have their in and out group in mind. And because they're waiting to punish each other with this saliva that makes me think of a rabid dog or whatever the word is, again, men or women, don't matter. They are very much not attractive. And they will, do whatever the people who don't know how to navigate the higher frequencies do. But it's okay. The future is saved, because intelligence means life always wins. That's why God knows exactly who all of humans are. It's kind of like Santa Claus. He knows if you've been sleeping. He knows if you've been good or bad, right? All that. And I know too, because I'm a child like anybody else. So when I'm near a nervous system, if they're not open-hearted and having a good time, then I know something's up, but I won't say anything. I'll be polite. And it's very easy to know what moral is, but not good or bad, like casting stones with judgment. It's you're good because you're an integrated brain who knows emotional, mental, and physical maturity, so you don't get petty, you don't use backstabbing comments, And if we get into our fields, we know how to be like, okay, let's continue to be functional adults. We don't have to be our adaptive child parts, even though trauma time can still come up, like in my case with my mom and my twin. So you still work with the immediate family because that's when you were the 1 year of age, a 2 year of age, a 3 year of age, 4 or 5, but you don't endorse it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you don't say, oh, sure, be very charged and disrespectful. Well, we don't really have to use that word, but do we want to be petty people? Nah. So the ethics of spiritual influence. Yes, I tell people all the time when they could benefit from good therapy for a while, and they say, but you do personal growth and spiritual growth. I want Akashic record readings. I want Reiki Maria. I want you to get, I can help in all ways, shapes, and forms that won't reparent your inner child or your nervous system, and it therefore will not help you to integrate your brain. And that's why transformation, you will just not be transformed. You just have titles or words. Guess what I got to do? Oh, look, I got a tarot reading. I got this. So I don't do vanity pitches or metrics. I actually like to know that what works is that a person can get their embodied brain to have a window of welcome to their sensations, images, affects, behaviors, and meanings. Thank you, Peter Levine. Not call mental health professionals, neuroscience, and neurobiology bullshit. Continue to learn about how demons don't embody anyone. Oh, and as a mystic, I channel, download all the time, but find out also that scientists, doctors, they also have a relationship with their lovely sphere. They just don't call it the same thing we do because, they know how the embodied brains work. And I don't have the science's words. I have mystic words. So my oversoul is my immediate oversoul, all the people I've been with in lifetimes previous to now and in the future, and then the entire earth, and then the entire infinite galaxy. I was opened up slowly. And so again, spiritual influence, the ethics would be that those who are spiritual don't say, hey, I'm a shaman, come to me, I'll save you 10, 20 years of therapy. No, you won't. But guess what 4D insecure, non-accountable people want? I'm an intuitive. I'm such a divine piece of source. Thanks to my subliminal messages, I got rid of all that energy stuff that was attached to you. You were cursed and all that. There's some people, they're still trying to hold you back. I'm anointed. I'm special. I'm chosen. We're chosen ones. Hey, come transform with us. We're going to get you all out of that child. Hey, come do the teenager work with me and child work with me. So that's how they like to all get together. Let's get together. Yeah. When people don't care about their self, I don't think of it as anything personal because the reality is they're disrespecting their own self, not me. But I do know I don't have a person who cares about me for real because, like my adaptive child part friend and any adaptive child part person, they can't be there for you because they will turn the cheek the other way and they will like you one day and then the next day won't. And that depends on their mood. And that depends because they have shadow that they don't go heal effectively, and they harbor resentment, and they harbor self-righteous energy, and they harbor childhood stuff that comes up. So with that being said, we're going to continue talking about this lovely topic, the ethics of spiritual influence, and also talk about how 4D is not going anywhere. So when you meet insecure, unaccountable people, they like to point fingers and shame, blame, fault, revenge other people. People who are enlightened ones don't give a shit. I know the laws. I know how to tell people the real deal. Asked all the therapists I know, hey, I'm a mentor, content creator, podcast host. I do personal growth, spiritual growth, Reiki master, Akashic record reader. How do I handle tarot when someone is needing you? They don't want you. It's normal. You can't do anything. You can try to talk. That's it. You can't make them hear you out. And you cannot tell them anything about therapy. That's not how this works. So when you consult with people who care, that are actual professionals who are healed, who anchor in ventral energy, they know how it works. And actually, they know all about the spiritual bypasser community. The ones who call equanimous people spiritual bypassers are the ones who we don't pay any attention to. They're in their angry little buttholes, and they lack self-awareness, accountability, regulation, and the buffoon sounds brilliant, but it's not, which is why we'll catch ourselves when we sound like idiots and morons, because, every one of us makes mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I'll never forget when I found out all about attachment trauma education, and that's because of the 2 very good certificates I have. And then I have a bunch more certificates and hours. Trying to remember the names of them, but I don't. And all of us cared about how can we help more people. And how can we help more people? Don't worry, their body's taking them there. So empowered feminines always win, and it's not women. It's called the people who take ownership of their body in ventrovagal state. The very uninteresting, dysregulated feminines who are masculines who use left alone, and they switch it up, changing their minds, are uninteresting because, teenagers. Cusco, what's up? You lie at the end of the movie too? It's not impressive, liar, pants on fire. So the ones who want to talk about spiritual mystics not having ethics or being charlatans or snake oil or, big words like predators, there's plenty of professionals who are that. And it's not only within the personal growth, transformative field, it's wellness. No, it's therapists, it's doctors, it's teachers. So if there's one thing that would be ethical is that all human beings out there finally figure out, hey, let's go all get our brain integrated so we could stop being hypocrites. But here's the business of that. My adoptive child part friend, to this day, he thinks he knows everything, and he's still the same liar that I yelled in the face as he didn't know how to be himself. When I said to him, look, this was 5 years after not talking to him, I'm only telling you this very specific story of me because you judge a book by its cover. What you'll find out that fakos are, because while I can have all the feels in the world, I'll spot it, I'll work with it, and I'll tell you, you know what, I'm imperfect, I'm flawed, but yeah, I do know what I think. And no, it's not about beliefs, as I have data. And so when people want to use the word belief and they like to play around with a bunch of things, it's like, okay, data, D-A-T-A, it's replicable, it's provable. It's not disproving God of stories, it's proving that your brothers and sisters, all humanity, has the kingdom of God within them, which is why a spiritual master, guru, and a yogi expert, all of them, prophet, you use it, whatever it is, they won't mind whatever words we use, because that's what makes them enlightened ones. If they're not enlightened ones, then they're going to want to keep you all to themselves and have their 20, 30 books, and then they're going to put it all in a little box, and they're going to sound like moronic, the not men and the not women that I've met out there, and the not theys, meaning any emotionally immature person is just annoying to be around because they take everything personally. They do not know how to use the prefrontal cortex, so their brain starts to diminish in the capacity to remember that stereotypes and generalizations are not accurate. They're used with specific ways for actual academics to have debates, which is very different than social time. As the academics are actually working, they get paid for it. And then even if they don't get paid, they're doing something called creating hypotheses. So I'll take academics, peer-reviewed, all that stuff seriously. But when I see a bunch of people yelling at each other, I'm like, hey, bunch of Diegos and Cuscos. There's no moral ethics. They're just yelling at each other because they have an in and out group. They decided which one was which. And now that they're spiting each other, they're just continuing to play house all together as, Diego's family. And they all think they have the same good intentions, but they all don't actually have the right action since they're not using their ventral energy and their prefrontal, and they therefore, don't have the right consciousness to produce the necessary results because they don't know equanimity. And they don't know equanimity because they don't have a body that's connected. So we are not meeting the self. We're not meeting the human. We're meeting their 3-year-old at best with trauma charges, or 0-8-year-old. They're non-metabolized. They're playing out the unfinished business from home. They're not doing personal growth. So for the insecure, unaccountable people, they just like to continue to say, we're special, and they're dressing up. So they're not spiritual masters, because if they were, they wouldn't say they have laundry. They would say, so suffering is the temporal junction. As you use ventral vagal portfolio of toning exercises of yoga, and you do integration with the mindfulness meditation, and then you also have the therapist to get you to own your core narrative, relation, and soul self, and you become a whole self. And now that you are finally whole and you own the sense of self, it means you observe, witness, narrate. Now we know who you are, and you know who you are, and you can work with more emotional resiliency every time your embodied brain begins to throw a hissy fit. Mine does all the time. And you can say, okay, we're still working on it, so that you don't get in someone's face and do silly shit. But meantime, spiritual masters, gurus, yogis, we know that we won't judge somebody based on what they are right now, that we will look at what potential any human being has, and we will see how we can offer to support to bring it to fruition, like God wants us to, because he sent us Jesus, didn't he? Forgive, for they do not know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Remember not to cast a stone, and anyone who's casting stone to this day with scripture in their mouth, let me not laugh in your face. I don't, because I actually got taught by God how not to play know-it-all. Also, I'm grounded in reality with humility in the sense of I don't know everything at all. I really would love to read every book up to this moment in this day, but I'm not a computer, so I really physically can't. And I think it's because it makes it fun to play the game of life, because what would happen if I knew everything? Well, the good news is they keep learning new things. So I really think that even if I had caught up on all the books that existed, on all the subject matters, if there was any way possible, like let's just pretend, Maria's going to pretend that she has all, oh, that would be awesome. So I would be able to die today knowing that I found out every single bit of information from all of those special human beings who existed before us, of all frequencies, and oh, wait a minute, I'm an Akashic record reader, I can still go to the library. And then tomorrow I'm going to add more, and there you go. So, it's a good day. Yes, so we will not neglect anyone just because they don't have the necessary capability right now. Thank you, Sadhguru. And yes, humans are a resource, and they have tremendous possibility. With the right nurturing, they will blossom into someone remarkable. But the 4D insecure, unaccountable people, when you tell them that they need therapy in the best way possible without spelling it out like this, because again, the therapist said you can't do it that way. No, I want Akashic record reading. I want tarot. I want you to tell me what's going to happen. I want the download. I want the channel. I want the Reiki. I want all of it. But no, I won't work to become an equanimous human being, because you're telling me you don't want me to have emotions, Maria. No, that's not what I'm telling you. Yes, you are. You're just fake positive, Maria. No, not really. But, again, it's okay. So people who don't get it right are the same people who think about right and wrong with these words. And so yes, the ethics of spiritual influence is that a true spiritual one will not want to have influence, because if they're truly spiritual, they will create the capacity for you to become your own self-led sovereign human being. And with all the smart scientists out there, they will know that it begins with your child parts, and they will inform you of that. And that they are not the therapists that can get all the neuroscience down, because that takes years of college, and college is important, and only mediocre, ignorant idiots think it doesn't matter. You also spot the difference between a good professional and a bad one. A doctor who doesn't want to update his or her or their curriculum is a bad doctor. That's all of them. And the ones who still have wounds and they perpetuate them, and they say narcissists aren't healable, and they want to say that they know the truth, but their colleagues all are against them, yeah, that's another bad one. It's called skewed with dogma, with a charge. It's called in and out group, and it's called lack of subjective objectivity, where you didn't even notice your own biases as you're speaking them from your mouth. What kind of a professional are you? Who are you leading? You shouldn't have influence. But wait, that's right, I forgot. All of the adaptive child part people, they look up to each other and follow each other around like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, and then they follow Wendy. Yes, that's how it works. So we'll talk some more about it, but that's exactly why intelligent minds, we're emotionally, mentally, and physically intelligent. We're not buffooned. And if you're an empowered feminine, your wool is never pulled over the eyes by anyone, because, truth always comes to the surface. And lies also always come to the surface. And what liars are, like my facade friend, are inconsistent, irregular. One day you're great, one day you're not. One day I'll do awesome, one day I won't. And they don't actually want to consistently become the best version of themselves, which is the saddest part ever. So they don't have self-care, they don't have self-love, they don't even actually have self. And if they did, they would think about how every day is going to be potentially the last day of their life. So they would make sure to make it a good one, to leave something behind, to lead by example for the younger kids, and then to be with their loved ones. And unlike some people who definitely don't know how to live life with moderation. I don't know if you can hear the yelling, but someone's having a good time. Yes, everything in moderation. It's all fun. But some people, they don't actually think of it that way. And I have had plenty of experiences of hypocrites looking at me like a weirdo because I live with family. And I'm like, well, at least I don't treat my body like you are. And I also don't do things that can put every other, and this is all people, by the way, who look at me like I'm weird again. And I think I'm not weird for being moderately healthy. I'm going to think that, wow, the fact that you're not aware of this Oh, you leave it alone, because then there's the other extremists who don't do anything, and that's really another one. So it's not black and white. That's exactly why those of us who are in the intelligent group, we know that people who irritate us, it's because they're not the way we want or expect them to be. And they're not like us, but they're not meant to be. They have their body, we have our body. And the goal of trauma treatment is to help people feel safe in their bodies with willingness. And some people won't go, they'll just use the words. And they will say, we're divinity, we're able to do everything. And you watch as they don't actually notice that ego just came and dropped by and said hello. As if you're empowered and enlightened, you don't really feel the need to use the, because you are always imbued by that which is God, grace, Akash, source. It's a very, very beautiful, consistent sense of safety, because it's the securely attached, non-traumatized, embodied person with the self that is sovereign and led. And that's why wellness industry works for those who want to be mindful in their mindset and use their ventral energy. But sometimes it takes years after therapy to notice that your survival mode is still kicking in, and then it takes your motivation to keep yourself in the consistency of leading towards what attachment coaches, and in one of the videos I said attachment educators, but it's not the educators, it's coaches. They say that our energy is boring. And I'm like, no, what's boring and disgusting are all the ones who play Tom and Jerry that I get to meet since I was a kid, because they're not regulated nervous systems. That's disgusting, because we have full access to emotion. So when I'm around people who enmesh or are codependent, they don't know how to own their sense of self because they haven't bothered to go get integrated. Yes, it's not an energy vamp or dark aura. They're trying to, in fact, I saw a picture of it. It's the science people, they explain it really good. So it's called where when you embody yourself and your higher self and your sovereign, you know what, and I'm a touchy-feely person. Like, I love to hug people, but I own my sense of self. So just to be clear, when someone's trying to mold and meld with you, they don't know how to have their own personality. And so you can tell, yeah, it's basically like slime trying to enter into yours. So it's easy though, just, nope, it's not your place. Sorry, no, I'm not part of you. You're not part of me. It's cool though. You can stay on the outskirts and we can create a mui. Where we connect is at the level of the heart. And as differentiated selves, like Dr. Daniel Siegel points out, we create a mui. And Terry Real talks about it. We have this like sphere, enlightened sphere of our own. And so that's really amazing. You'll know healthy selves when you're a healthy self. And then you'll know the ones who need to just be tended to with a specific hand gesture, and you allow yourself to just try your best to leave it alone and create those health. It's very easy, by the way. You don't have any problemo, because ventral energy, to those who don't use it, is a person who's not joking. It's a kind, firm, empowered feminine. And that's a woman or a man, it doesn't matter, because they know how to be in their higher self. So join us here, and again, we'll keep talking about this, but attachment trauma educated spiritual ones who are true spiritual ones will inform you of the difference between what you are going to want to do first of all, which is learn to navigate your nervous system, own your sense of self. When you're an integrated brain, now you're going to be able to use to the best of your own self all of this, and continue self-care, self-love, and personal growth and spiritual growth will be fun. But there's no shortcuts. So the 4D want shortcuts because they just don't want to do the work. Like Patrick Tan points out, emotionally immature people, not mature people, they want pats on the back and love like the flat earthers, but they don't want to go and make sure that they are a whole self. Now, hey, for all we know, they're whole selves and they still believe in their, yeah, I can't lie. Yeah, I think that they just wanted a group where to belong, and they found one, and like teenagers do, they just won't let it go. But since I'm grounded in reality, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're right. I may be right, you may be crazy, but it might just be a lunatic you're looking for, or you may be right, I may be crazy. That's the way I meant it. So having a great evening. I hope you all are. It's a lovely late IHP show. We'll be back with more. Have a good one.